Wow, they really did completely destroy the Blade franchise with Blade Trinity. No wonder there never was a fourth Blade movie ever made. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video we are going to be reviewing the third and final installment as part of Wesley Snipes' Blade trilogy, Blade Trinity. And boy, did they mess this movie up. I mean, the first two movies were really cool, really dark and really horror based. Whereas in this third installment, they opted for a bit more of a light-hearted, humorous take and decided to give Blade two sidekicks, which really did make the actor really frustrated. I mean, there have been a lot of reports of a lot of questionable behaviour regarding Wesley Snipes on the set of this movie, and actually it does translate on the big screen, as you can just tell that the actor just didn't want to be there, and this movie ultimately just lacked a lot of passion and a lot of energy, especially from its title character. I mean, there were some great ideas in this movie, but ultimately it was just executed really badly, and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you in this movie review. So surprisingly, the storyline actually opens up really well as we see a group of vampires trying to resurrect Dracula, as he is the first ever vampire and they really want to get a lot of strength from him. And also they frame Blade for killing a human. So like I said, they opened it up really well. However, then Blade unwittingly joins a group of underground vampire killers known as Nightstalkers, and obviously these Nightstalker characters were going to get their own spin-off. However, because Blade Trinity performed so badly, those spin-off plans were completely taken off the table, and together all of these characters are trying to stop Dracula. There is also a bit of a mini storyline and a side storyline going on, which involves Blade trying to stop a group of vampires who are creating a blood farm and completely dehumanizing humans and just using them as blood vessels for the vampires. But the storyline doesn't really go anywhere. I mean, I know they included it because it was an idea from the first movie, they never ever made it to the final product, but you know, I do feel like they could have done so much more with that concept. But anyway, as far as this main storyline of this movie is concerned, they are trying to stop Dracula, they are trying to drop the charges that are against Blade, and they are trying to kill all of the vampires once and for all. Now, from a positives point of view, like I said, the opening act of this movie was really great, and in the opening especially, there was a really cool highway chase sequence across this fast-paced motorway of all these vampires trying to stop Blade, and Blade killing them one by one, which was really cool. Like I said before, there were some great concepts in this movie. For example, the Nightstalker groups, also Dracula having the king vampire back in this movie and having him be the main enemy in the third movie, I actually did think was really cool. And also the blood farm storyline could have been really great. I mean, it always sounded really brilliant in the first movie when the Frost character wanted to create something similar, so it was really cool that they added it in here. But like I said, it was just a little bit of a throwaway scene. But you know, that being said, there was great pacing in this movie. It goes through everything relatively quickly, and it does overall continue the main narrative that it has started from the first two movies. However, from a negative point of view, the aesthetic in this movie is very campy, very goofy, and just very comedic. And it just doesn't really work. I mean, the first two movies are really great because they had a much darker aesthetic, which just works so well for the Blade character. And it just feels so out of place, and some moments are really cringy and just really awkward, and you're just wondering what on earth are they doing. Especially with the Dracula character, there is a really weird scene where he is just screaming into the camera, but it just looks so bad and doesn't feel terrifying, which is what it should do. And also, of course, they reduced the Blade character and the Blade storyline and the Blade presence quite a lot, as they obviously wanted to give the other characters a bit more screen time, as they wanted to do a spin-off with them, which I can understand. But you know, this is a Blade movie, so that you should be focusing on the main character a lot. And also, there's a bit of a weird chase sequence happening between Blade and Dracula, which I think on paper sounded quite cool in terms of all of these characters going through these houses, going through these streets. And some of the moments look really cool, but you can just feel that the actors just didn't really want to be there. And in turn, it just doesn't look as epic as it could have done. But you know, from a storyline point of view, whilst there were some great moments in there, unfortunately, there were just a lot of things that did drag it down. So to this movie's credit, it did actually do a really good job with all of the casting in terms of all of the new characters that they brought into this movie. So let's go through them one by one. So first up we have Wesley Snipes, who, like I said, you can just tell that his heart unfortunately wasn't in this movie. No pun intended. I mean, compared to the first two movies, he just lacked a lot of passion and a lot of presence, and it's just such a shame, as they really could have made this movie on the same level as the other two, as there was some really great material and some really great ideas. However, the way they executed it was just really not that great and just unfortunate with the way that things played out, as they could have done so much more with the Blade character. Next up we have Ryan Reynolds playing the Hannibal King character, and his character was really interesting in terms of he was a vampire, but now he has cured himself and is now a human that wants to stop the vampires. So actually I think this character was really cool. It does feel a little bit like Ryan Reynolds is using this movie as a bit of an audition tape for the Deadpool character, as actually he does a really good job with his comedic one-liners are really cool, and also his action sequences are really impressive as well, contrastingly to Wesley Snipes. You can really tell that Ryan Reynolds really wants to be there and does do a really good job in terms of all of his performances in this movie. Next up we have Jessica Biel, who is the other sidekick in this movie, and she is Whistler's daughter, and I have to say her intro definitely is one of the best character intros that I have seen in a very long time in any kind of movie. It's just very unexpected, complete twist on what you would expect that scene to be, and just really shows how badass this character is. Definitely not a bit of a damsel in distress character, can totally hold her own in front of all of the guys as well, and I feel like she's really great and does actually save the day for a lot of characters in this movie, and so I feel Jessica Biel does a really good job as the Abigail character. Next up we have Dominic Purcell, who is playing the Drake/Dracula character. So much potential with this character, true legendary vampire, the first ever vampire that was created, has core superpowers himself, and does have a bit of a Shao Kahn look to him as well when he is full Dracula mode. But they just completely wasted the potential with this character. Like I said, they did make it into a little bit of a joke. I mean, he goes into a Dracula shop and kind of does a little bit of terrifying things, but nothing that substantial. Like I said, that chase sequence really should have been and could have been so much better. He's holding a random baby when he's trying to talk to Blade, and also there's a bit of a sword fight with Blade at the end, which really did mirror what we saw at the end of the first movie with the Frost character and with Blade. And I was just thinking, God, they could have done so much more with Dracula, and like I said, they did make him into a bit of a joke. Some moments were really cringy as well, and it was just so much wasted potential, despite the fact that they actually had a really great actor playing the Dracula character. We also had Kristofferson returning from the first two movies as the Whistler character, but I feel like they completely wasted his character as well. I feel like, God, how many times are you going to kill this character off? I definitely feel like they didn't use him in the best possible way, and there is this really random scene where he quite literally randomly does pop up in the middle part of this movie. Next up we have Patton Oswalt, who is playing a bit of a comedic role in this movie as part of the Nightstalkers group, and if you watch the interview that Patton Oswalt has given, he does spill a lot of tea about what happened behind the scenes. Next up we have Parker Posey, who does a really good job herself as the head of the underground vampire group, and she is pretty threatening. I like the history that she has with Ryan Reynolds' Hannibal King character, but you can also see that she does really respect the Dracula character, and I feel like she's really good. We also have Triple H, who is also part of the underground group, and he is definitely bringing the brute strength to this movie. And so, like I said, from a casting characters point of view, they did actually do a really good job with the casting for all of the different roles. It was just such a shame that the main lead character's role was just stripped back so significantly. So from a visuals point of view, like I said before, the aesthetic of this movie was definitely a lot more light-hearted, a lot more campy, a lot more goofy, and a lot more light-hearted compared to the first two movies, which worked so well because they were a lot darker, a lot edgier, and a lot more horror-based. Now, they definitely had some comedic moments in those two movies for sure, but I just feel like this movie is just definitely doing a 180 on the complete aesthetic, and unfortunately it didn't work as well as it could have done. I mean, like I said, the opening was really great, so much potential, and actually I was really excited when I saw the opening, as I thought this is going to be such a brilliant film, a great new addition to the first two installments. So like I said, that scene in the highway speed chase, really cool, seeing Blade being a total badass, killing all of these vampires, all of the Ash deaths, all of those scenes are really cool. And on top of that, the fact that the vampires are now framing Blade, which I thought was such a great unexpected twist. Just seeing how on earth is Blade now going to get out of this situation. Now all of the humans are going to be fearful of him, and you just know that obviously some of the humans are going to be controlled by the vampires. So brilliant starting, but unfortunately the tone just went downhill from there. Like I said, the chase sequence was pretty weak as well, and some of the CGI, God, so questionable What on earth were they thinking with some of those moments? Like I said, there are a lot of WTF moments and you're just going to be scratching your head quite a lot. As like I said, conceptually, there were some great ideas here, but they just weren't executed in the best possible way. Also, there are a number of sequences in this movie that aren't very original, as they do feel very rehashed from the first two movies. Like I said, some of the sequences where Blade is destroying some of the vampires and that sword fight with the main lead villain just mirrored the first movie so much, which would have been alright. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing a bit of a callback to a previous movie. It's just you're thinking, God, when you see Blade fighting Dracula, they just could have done it in a much more impressive way, which just means overall from a visuals point of view, it just definitely wasn't as good as it could have been. So in terms of comparisons, I definitely think this movie is unfortunately the weakest one as part of the original Blade trilogy. I mean, I do feel like it can get into the category of it's so bad it's actually good, very similar to Mortal Kombat Annihilation, Batman and Robin, and Gods of Egypt. Speaking of Batman and Robin, it did kind of feel like the Blade and his two sidekick scenes did feel a lot like Batman, Robin and Batgirl, except in this movie they're just giving a lot more prominence to Robin and Batgirl over Batman. But you know, from a comparison point of view, unfortunately it isn't as great as it could have been, and it could have been so much better. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Marvel Cinematic Universe are going to take their new rebooted version of the Blade character, which actually Wesley Snipes has given his blessing to. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Mahershala Ali is going to take on this iconic role. So overall, with Blade Trinity, you know, no doubt it had some really great concepts, some really great casting, and some great moments in there. However, Wesley Snipes clearly knew that they are just changing the fabric of the brand too much, and that fans are not going to love it, and in turn, it just lost its charm, and just really lost what made the first two movies so beloved, which is just really, really unfortunate, as this movie could have been and should have been so much better than it was. But you know, for all of those reasons, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. I'd love to hear what you think, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.